walk away because of those things.
Yeah, but they think it's helping them.
I know they do think it's helping them, but it's hurting them, and we'll get into this. We're already getting started. Welcome to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And my boy Johnny Sue on the ones and twos is right over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much. We had a show a couple days ago, and since then, our subscribers on YouTube is still ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It is still going up, and we are on the verge. Maybe by tomorrow morning, we might wake up, fam, with 23,000 subscribers. What do you think about that?
That's awesome. It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. And we can't thank you enough. And more than anything, we can't thank our Patreons enough who really support us. You know, it really stinks nowadays that we got to go on and we got to ask people for money to help us out. But I think it's somewhat great. It's really grassrooty. It's local support. It's real support. What Bernie Sanders did in that 2016 election was amazing, and you're doing the same thing over here. So you're supporting independent media by doing so. And even if you can't support us on Patreon, the fact that you come over here and you watch us and you send us our love, me and Fiorella, we love it. We've had some great emails too lately, haven't we?
Yeah, and a lot of you guys know a lot of things, so it's always fun to read that.
It's great to have an educated audience with an opinion. So we want to thank some people on the Patreon that just joined up. Jackie McCaffrey, thank you so much. Stefan Fiedler, thank you. John Levin, thank you so much. Brandon Smith, we love you. Jackie Papura, you're awesome. Nathan Glazier, awesome. Ivan Pope, Talega, and Brian Consman have been the latest ones. We also have Devin, Lane Davis, and Elizabeth, the Super Progressive. We love you. We wore your shirt the other day, the new Super Progressive fam. Tim Black, what do you think about that choice?
I think that's an awesome choice. I love that.
So tomorrow, just to remind you, we're going to be doing some stuff over here. Fam's rearing up. She's going to do a lot of stuff about Elizabeth Warren this week. She's ready. And you know when Fam gets savage. If you haven't joined in and got on her Twitter, we had Graham Elwood in the studio the other day, said you got to get on Fam's Twitter. It is savage. It really is. I look forward to reading your tweets because you have an artistic way at going at somebody's jugular, and there's nothing better than that. Also, since I've been doing a lot of Trump praising when it comes to Epstein, we're also going to talk to Michael Santucci tomorrow, our lawyer, in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to do an Epstein report. We're also going to touch on a little Epstein stuff today. But since I've been kissing Trump's tutu when it comes to Epstein, thinking that he's done the right thing, other than this last slip up in the jail, I want to talk about Donald Trump's foreign policy blunders, fam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, fam.
Well, there's a lot of people out there getting scared that say, they're attacking Tulsi Gabbard right now because they're saying that Tulsi Gabbard isn't a option other than Trump, a different option, but she is, because she really is an anti-interventionist. There are some people out there in the media who have been saying, we were in the audience that day, me and Johnny Sue, and here it is when Bill Maher says that Tulsi Gabbard is just like Donald Trump, a non-interventionist.
So one place where you're fairly similar to Trump is you're a non-interventionist. Yeah.
Yep,
I mean, you
right
see
there.
this with Iran lately.
So he kind of goes into some stuff and he calls her a non-interventionist. But I want to state something because it's far from the truth. But I want to point out some of his positives real quick. Here's another picture. I do appreciate when he does do stuff good. Like he went and talked to Kim Jong-un, tried to broker a peace deal, which hasn't been brokered in a long time. You can see there's a little quick picture real quick. He's just walking across the DMV. No president's done that, and I think a lot of people went and attacked him, especially the mainstream media fam, when they called him, he's talking to a dictator.
Right.
What do you think about this move when he did that?
I think that was a good move. I separate myself from punishing him for that, because I think that the mainstream media, of course, they will vilify anybody that wants to achieve peace and talk to an opponent as an apologist, like an Assad apologist for Tulsi, or in this case for Donald Trump. However, could he have done more? Absolutely. Did he do more than maybe Hillary Clinton would have done? Absolutely. But I'm like, I don't want to say, oh, he did this amazing, awesome thing, because I feel like a lot of it was self-gaining, self-promotion. To me, it matters why you do things. And I don't think he did it because he thought he was going to achieve world peace. I think he did it because he wanted to look good. And that's that. But I will say that no matter why he did it, it was a good thing to do. So.
Well, if Obama had done this, they've been praising him like crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
And like you said, he could have done more. When we saw this stuff happen, we saw the talks last year, we thought they would pull out of the drills. The drills that are run in South Korea are still mimicking an invasion of North Korea. They've been doing it for a long time. And guess what? Guess who pays for those drills, fam?
We do.
Exactly. So I thought he would have that libertarian mindset, draw back, not do the drills, but they went forth with him, so we had to pay the cost for that. I also want to point out that I appreciate him not listening to Lord John Bolton when it came to bombing Iran. Remember, they set up Trump. They said they fired down an unmanned drone, and this is what Trump had to say when he was belittled again by the liberal media for not attacking Iran. Take a look.
Plane, whatever you want to call it. And here we are sitting with 150 dead people that would have taken place probably within a half an hour after I said go ahead.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I didn't think it was proportionate.
Oh, fam.
It's the first time we see the president.
Did he just say something of peace and get ridiculed for that? Remember this?
Yeah. But he goes back. Then he lets Bolton and Pompeo go back and pretty much do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
So again, it just seems something to save face.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too, because I mean we talked about having Elliot Abrams and Lord Bolton as your policy advisors when it comes to foreign policy. That maybe it was a tactic to say, "Yo, I got the craziest guys. I have them on a leash. I'm going to let them go unless you make a deal." But it really hasn't worked out that way.
He's the one that's on a leash. That's what it seems like to me.
I mean, the whole thing is that he's continued with the crippling sanctions that have led to the people fleeing at the southern border.
So let's get to the criticisms because.
Okay, you want to get to the criticism?
We haven't gotten to them.
Let's get to them. We got Abrams. He was another one. John Bolton, and that's why you got to say he's not. So let's talk about the first one. His first policy blunder. We're going to go back. I think number 5. I put number 1, but it's the 5th worst one is Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of talk in Afghanistan, but the U.S. has never dropped as many bombs on Afghanistan as it did in 2018. This is the part we thought that maybe he would kind of pull back and whatnot. Right. But he kind of acknowledges that there's a military-industrial complex, and I don't know what his plan was to drop a lot of bombs, spend a lot of money, and then pull it away. But he still hasn't reached a deal. He's still talking about pulling out troops, and he hasn't, fam.
And the worst part is that he and the Republican Party largely criticized Barack Obama for doing the same thing, for stalling and not pulling troops out of Afghanistan. So it's very hypocritical to me. And I railed against Obama equally the same as I am for Trump doing that. But Trump campaigned as a non-interventionist. And a lot of people will disagree with me on this, some of the progressives who think that every single person that voted for Donald Trump is racist. That is entirely wrong. Some people who voted for him thought he would shake up the system. He wasn't like a typical establishment Clinton politician, and that they couldn't vote for Hillary. And so a lot of veterans I know, because I know a good amount of vets, were absolutely unwilling to ever vote for someone like Hillary Clinton because of her warmongering ways. And Trump campaigned as an anti-interventionist, and he hasn't done it, as we are about to continue to explain.
He keeps teasing. He's like, I'm going to pull the troops out. I'm going to pull them out already. Pull them out. Number 2, Nicaragua. We have to talk about Nicaragua because guess what? Trump signs a bill to sanction the Nicaraguan government. Here we go again, fam. We've said on the show before, sanctions are an act of war, and they affect who? Mainly the poor. So why is he starting in with Nicaragua? Because John Bolton told him to?
And if you want to fix our immigration issue, you don't put more sanctions on these countries and cause more destabilization of their nations and their governments and their people, and then turn them into refugees who in turn come in here. And now you're telling them that they can't step a foot inside of the United States. And you're putting them in a situation where a quagmire where they can't go on either end. But that is entirely our military-industrial complex causing that in the first place. Yeah. So where's the non-interventionism? I don't know. And
I want to remind people that Daniel Ortega has made Nicaragua one of the most peaceful nations in the Central and South America, in that whole region. He is also had the best gender equality than any country in South and Central America, and 1/3 of the indigenous people had owned land under Daniel Ortega. But you know what, fam? The United States, we can't let people see them, they're citizens of another country, get free health care, education, or good pay.
Right, and this isn't just Donald Trump. This happened again in 2009 with the coup against Honduras. So this isn't a left or right issue. This is a military-industrial complex and class issue.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Honduras, because Honduras is the next one, fam. And, we talk about President Trump. You know what I'm saying? When they removed Manuel Zelaya, which was in 2009, it was Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and they played the stupid role, like we don't know, talking against it, but allowing it to happen, especially when you have lawyers and people who are connected to the Clinton Initiative and Bill Clinton's foundation, and you can see the fuckery that was going on. Excuse my French. I know we're on Twitch. We're not supposed to quit. But when they removed Manuel Zelaya, the fear was that Manuel Zelaya was going to amend the Constitution to allow a president to run for more than one term. And in fact, when he was talking about he was saying that he wasn't going to be running for another term. It was just to allow his party to. But they removed him anyways. And guess what Juan Orlando Hernandez has done? He's mended the Constitution so he can get a second term. He's in his second term, a fugazi election. And Donald Trump supported him because Israel has a 10-year weapon deal with Honduras, and one of the biggest military bases is in Honduras. So I thought Donald Trump was going to have the ability to say, you know what? Let's be a libertarian. Let's just bring everybody home. Screw these people. Let them fend for themselves. I don't care as harsh as that sounds. I'll take it right now. Just get out of their business.
Right, and that's not, I don't know if you're going to mention this, but let's not forget Trump's loyalty to Netanyahu and Israel's right-wing fascist government, because that's what he is. If you think Trump is bad, Netanyahu is like 10,000 times worse. And it's not just because of what he's doing with Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib. It is because of what his government is doing to the Palestinian people. And a lot of people in Israel are actually against that. And a lot of Jewish people in the United States are actually against that. Yes. So it's not an anti-Semitism thing as much as it is an authoritarian government, right-wing sort of situation that we have. And
I think a lot of times that when we talk about these situations, if we're talking, and if you haven't got a chance, ladies and gentlemen, go to our Convo Couch YouTube. Fiorella's got 3 awesome videos out there. It's for the political junkies out there, the people who want to get into this deep. This is juicy steak, or for you vegetarians, it's juicy mushroom caps. But it is really, really good stuff, and it talks about it because really a lot of the stuff, when we're critical of Israel, we're talking geopolitically. We're talking geopolitically, and they try to bring in the anti-Semitism into the whole conversation, and they shouldn't, because there's a lot of geopolitical decisions that are made which really affect people all around the world. Now, the next one is your favorite fam. It's Venezuela. New York Times, just the other day, and this is once again, where are the Democrats? Where are the Democrats?
They're in coalition with the Republicans on this.
New sanctions on Venezuela, fam. It's going to affect who? The poor people, and guess what? More migration.
And then what we're going to do is say that it's Maduro's fault and that socialism doesn't work, and this is why everybody should embrace capitalism. And that's exactly what we've done time and time again, and what we will continue to do.
Yeah.
So Trump had an opportunity there to be against that. And when you see the Republicans and the Democrats agreeing on one thing, it's about war and interventionism. That's what they agree on.
I really thought that Donald Trump was going to use the whole fact when it came to South and Central America, and that's why it was so disappointing to see him hire Abrams. So disappointing to hire Bolton, because they baited him in this situation, and now they're doubling down on stupid. Not to mention that they gave the opposition like $41 million that they could have brought home about a month ago. It's just terrible. But what I thought Donald Trump was going to do, and you said he had the opportunity, was go to these countries and say, you know what, hey, listen, I'll lift the sanctions. I'll lift them right now. You have sanctions that have been on from the last 3 administrations. I'll lift them right now, but you got to do business with me. Give me your oil at a price, and I'll lift all the sanctions and let you be. How about that? You know what I'm saying? But he didn't do that. He doubled down. He tried to put the boot on the neck of these people, and these people came back even more resilient. And when it comes to all the talk about, we're talking about like white supremacy, Venezuela is just that. I'm sorry. You got Donald Trump, John Bolton. It ain't geopolitical. You're putting on a bunch of poor people of color's necks in Venezuela you're trying to starve them out. You're trying to take medicine away from them. So when Maduro actually refers to it, this is an incident where I think he's right.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't matter what your opinion on Maduro is. Ultimately, we need to let Venezuela be and stop using the Trojan horse idea that we're going to offer humanitarian aid when we know that's, if we cared about humanitarian aid, we would be helping other people like in Yemen. But we obviously don't care unless there's an interest, and our interest there is oil. Yeah. So,
and we might look geopolitical, but it's not going to come off that way, especially when a lot of indigenous people are going to be starved out of food, starved out of medicine, and you got Donald Trump, John Bolton, Abrams.
And you're telling Colombians, the Colombian government, to literally prevent these people from getting the help that they need. So obviously you don't give a damn about humanitarian aid.
Yeah. And the last one, number 5 or number 1, is Iran again. He's let these guys, You know, now John Bolton's doubling down. He wants to seize an oil tanker. He wants to just provoke. When is Donald Trump going to fire these guys? Donald Trump should fire these guys. I know, but he fires everybody. Why wouldn't he fire these guys? And these particular, when you got Pompeo, you got Barr, you got Abrams, you got Bolton. He's got to get rid of these guys because this is the area where it really, really sucks. And Tulsi Gabbard said he needs to swallow his pride and get back in this deal. We already gave them their money. Why would he pull out of this deal? This was the worst thing ever, and it just keeps the whole region on edge, and it's just not a good thing, fam.
Yeah, and again, sanctions are an act of war, and even though, you know, and through putting sanctions, you're causing a destabilization of this country. So,
yeah. All right, let's get to the next topic. Those are the top 5 blunders from Donald Trump, foreign policy, whatever you guys think out there. You let us know. Do you think Trump's doing a good job, a bad job? Let us know. We have 200 people watching on a beautiful Sunday. It's hot out there because it's hot down there.
So hot.
I just want to do some really quick shout outs. Troll Trollson, what a great name is. Hey, Troll Trolleson, great name. Val 5D, great. ThinkPad 20, Ghost Rider, DOF, Raul Morales, Alex M. Where's Michael Cruz at? Where's our boy? Is Michael Cruz in the house? Michael Cruz is here. There he is. Learn MMT. You know what? We need to learn MMT. Because Bernie Sanders understands MMT, and that's why. We have a lot of people watching, fam, but let's get to the next subject. It's a real quick one before we get to 2 quick segments. This one is an article that was brought up by the SJWs, Washington Post, right? Is the Wall Street Journal, excuse me. Trump isn't the one dividing us by race. And it goes into it, and we talk about this all the time.
Okay.
Trump, you say Trump has a part about this, but I'm going to let Johnny read a little bit.
Sure.
Because we also have to talk about it. From the second, yet Mr. Trump rarely uses racial. Start right there.
It's entirely wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is an opinion article, and It says, yet Mr. Trump rarely uses racial categories in his speech or tweets. It is the media and Democratic leaders who routinely characterize individuals and groups by race and issue race-based denunciations of large parts of the American polity. Some examples, as race dominates the political conversation, 10 white Democratic candidates will take the stage, the Washington Post. Mr. Trump's rally audiences are overwhelmingly white. Multiple sources. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Keep going. Let's see. Your son's whiteness is what protects him from not being shot by the police.
I mean, yeah.
Kristen Gillibrand, absolutely. White candidates need to be conscious of white privilege. Oh, yeah. White supremacy manifests itself in the criminal justice, immigration, and healthcare systems. Cory Booker.
Yep.
Michael Brown was murdered by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yep.
Senator Elizabeth Warren. Whiteness is the very core of Mr. Trump's power, whereas his predecessors made their way to high office through the passive power of whiteness. Whoa.
Okay, so let's kind of get into this a little bit.
I'll get into this with you.
Sam, go ahead, give us your opinions because I really want to put this up because I understand that, you know, we talk about Donald Trump does a lot of race baiting. He's terrible at it, you know, when he's just reading the names, whatnot, and he's trying to kind of like link Mexican people coming into the country to the Muriel boat ride of Cuba, like of when Castro let out his prisons, and that's the kind of coronation he's trying to make. But the argument from the Wall Street Journal and a lot of other people is that it's geopolitical the way he's talking, as opposed to the Democrats where they just pointed out white privilege, white privilege, white privilege.
You give Donald Trump too much credit for being even any ounce of intelligent.
Yeah.
He's not trying to do anything geopolitical. He's just saying whatever the fuck is on his mind. He's like fucking.
You guys,
crazy.
I wish that would be the case, and I would think that way. But the guy won the election.
Look at what he tweets.
The guy won the friggin' election
because he hired Cambridge Analytica.
No, he won. He won the election because Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate, and because the Democratic Party didn't adhere as a working class party to the people. Not because everybody is racist. Do we have a white supremacy problem? Yeah, but let me just address this article right now. The article is saying that Donald Trump never mentions race. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, he mentions it all the time, from like talking about Mexicans and all these people, and then he just diminishing them. And I think you have to look to a lot of people of color who have a completely different reaction. when it comes to what Donald Trump is saying, because it affects him in a different way.
Yeah.
And I do think the Democratic Party largely monopolizes this,
Yes.
and the media, mainstream media, of course,
Absolutely.
they drive it and make it 10,000 times worse because they want that divide. They want you to see Democrat good, Republican bad.
Right.
And that's wrong, right? Like, I agree that the media does weaponize all of this and tokenizes people of color, Black people, immigrants, without actually offering solutions.
Yeah.
That does not mean that there isn't a racial issue here, that what Cory Booker said, and I can't stand Cory Booker, that being Black does get you killed. I mean, in this country and by law enforcement, that is a fact. Is the problem just white supremacy? No. We cannot ignore the economic issues that have plagued this country for decades. All of this is happening now because of decades that we haven't dealt with the neoliberal policies and the neocon type of policies since before our time that have finally come to a summit and now are all just falling apart.
Yeah.
But to dismiss that race is an issue isn't it either. I despise identity politics. I absolutely despise it. That does not mean that we don't have white supremacy, that we don't have race issues, that unfortunately it is a small segment of these loud, vociferous people, but it is definitely there. And to ignore it is to not be an ally to progress.
Let me say this much. I don't think it's being ignored. I think the fact that it's being put front and center over everything is the problem in itself. And listen, guys, Donald Trump got more people of color votes than John McCain and Mitt Romney. He got more Latino votes than John McCain and Mitt Romney.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's something of a thought process to think there about the way he goes about things. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, of course they are there, but the Democratic Party has always done it for a long time now. The fact on going after it instead of on policy, because they support him on policy, they use the identity politics to weaponize stuff. And here's the problem with that. You only get people with inside your bubble.
Right.
You only get your people with inside your bubble. Whether we like it or not, when we talk about Donald Trump getting those extra people of color votes, those extra Latino votes, he's found a way to seep out a little bit and grab a couple of people those in. We're running off independents and people, poor white people in this country are being run off and just not even looking at the Democratic Party because they're being told you're privileged for something that you were born with. Meanwhile, they're making hamburger helper and they're a month behind on their rent and they're never going to be able to send their kids to college as well. I've always said the most important thing to do is to recognize that poor people together, people of color, white people, we have a lot more in common than the elites above who are running things because it's all about the monetary system and who's going to be a slave and who's not going to be a slave.
Absolutely, but in
and
an effort to do that, you cannot seem to brush off
Nobody's
the people's
brushing off
experiences.
Anything. Yes.
It's both. Like, obviously the economic issues are what, again, like drove a lot of these people who might have been Democratic, especially in the Rust Belt, in Middle America, in the South, to vote for Donald Trump. I 100% agree with that because the Democratic Party failed and they've realized the Democratic Party are a bunch of hypocrites who don't actually do things for you. And I've realized that. A lot of us have realized, a lot of people of color have realized that. That's why they're not just going to vote for Kamala Harris because they know she's a fraud. However, that doesn't mean that race doesn't play an issue into it, and we don't lead with identity politics. We never should lead with it. We shouldn't say, I want to vote for Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren because they're a woman, because it's time for a woman. But at the same time, we can't say that Donald Trump isn't making it more comfortable for a small group of people to feel like that they can feel this way about race and that they can blame immigrants. Ultimately, their anger is misplaced because obviously immigrants aren't taking jobs. I don't know who wants to dig holes on the dirt and who wants to sit out in the sun, but I can tell you most people I know wouldn't want to do that. And that's not who's taking their jobs. We have to direct the attention to economics. The fact that this is a class warfare that's going on right now. But in order to have those people on our side, we have to listen to what they're saying and address their concerns. Otherwise, we're never going to get one way or the other. I disagree with the people who put race over everything, who say, we need to just look into identity politics and that's it. But I also disagree with the people that completely ignore it, and I think it is in a way to be able to ignore it is privileged, and I don't even like using that word.
Yeah.
But it is, because you don't have to worry about it. You've never dealt with it.
Yeah.
So
well, the whole thing is, and I think you've hit it right on the nose, and I think we should get on to the next subject because you got to go to work. But really, to tell you the truth, you hit it on the nose because you said it a lot of times. Don't put it front and center. But that's the problem. All the Democrats do is put it front and center. Elizabeth Warren did the dumbest thing in the world by telling America that she wasn't going to go on Fox. She pretty much said that anybody who watches Fox
So
is a
stupid.
racist, is not worth talking to. And that's where we don't need to be. And the Wall Street Journal kind of pointed it out well right here. They just lead with it. You know what I'm saying? Notice that within those people, those candidates, Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders weren't mentioned. You know what I'm saying? And Bernie Sanders sometimes, I think, is by that group is kind of being forced to be a little bit more sometimes than anything else. My boss said to me, we were talking, he's like, listen, I like Bernie. I'm not going to hate on him. But when he said yesterday that picking his vice president candidate, it's going to be someone who doesn't look like him, probably a woman of color or whatever, he goes, that was a turnoff to him. Because no matter what, he felt that it should be the best human for that job. And that was just kind of one little area. And
but
once
if Bernie
again,
Sanders doesn't do that, then he's a racist misogynist, and he's already been
Bernie's
criticized
done a
for
great
it,
job of just
according to
Bernie
the
is-
far left.
yes.
According to the far left.
According to that small group of people. And that's the one thing I think we have to keep our eye on is that, yes, that small group of people has a valid argument. But once again, it can't be the biggest argument, because if we take that argument as the biggest, we'll miss all those people in the middle that we won't get those votes. Because I'm not taking this personally, fam. I'm taking this theoretically and objectively, and also what's the word I'm looking like, strategically, because I want to win. And if we do get a fair election, we can't push everybody away from things they were just born with. Yes, we have to understand with our past, so we understand the mechanisms going forward. But this is an argument that will go on, or a discussion that will go on, and that's why you're my partner, because you're, I think, a good, right in the middle, right there, babe, fam. Sorry, didn't mean to call you. Not on film, but you were great about it. So you were great about it. Let's get on to the next title real quick. Could we do some quick Epstein stuff, or are you really right behind and we should jump to your stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's jump to her stuff. Listen, tomorrow I'm going to have Michael Santucci on. Johnny will be. We're going to do a big old Epstein report. Let's get on to Elizabeth Warren, because fam loves Elizabeth Warren, don't you, fam?
Well, the mainstream media, specifically MSNBC, have been on a rant against Bernie Sanders, as many of you know.
No, they haven't.
Oh, right. It's all made up. But let's just show this video, and I want you guys to listen to what they're saying about Bernie and Elizabeth Warren.
What I think is interesting is that Elizabeth Warren she's bringing this whole coalition together that is slightly different from the Sanders coalition of 2016. African Americans, younger people. Obviously, Bernie Sanders had some of the young millennials, but she's building this broader coalition that's more diverse and more sustainable in the long run. Bernie Sanders was never able to do that in 2016 with one other candidate in the race. Yeah. It's just a fascinating dynamic.
She also has a better ground game than people have given her.
Oh, organizationally, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Huge ground game.
I thought it was interesting today, a lot of theorizing. What does an economic downturn do? Is this good for Biden, bad for Warren, good for Warren, good? And I've heard Dual sort of saying, well, actually, it could help both Warren and Biden for a time. Bill, where are you on this?
I mean, of course, it's hard to tell. I think it helps Warren, I guess. I have the sense, because I think, look, the key question for me on Warren is she reassuring enough to swing voters, both within the Democratic primaries and then ultimately the general election, or not? Is she more like Sanders, whom I regard as unacceptable to an awful lot of these swing voters, a lot of people who voted for Hillary and so forth? Or is she more like, could she end up being acceptable to people whose first instinct is to go for normalcy and go for Biden? I don't know the answer to that. I think she's moved to being more acceptable during the course of this campaign. I don't buy it all, incidentally, the Sanders. I mean, Sanders could try to stay in. He could stay in 2016 because it was just him and Hillary. If Warren beats Sanders in Iowa and New Hampshire, Sanders is gone. He can stay in. Right. No one's going to vote for him.
I think Andrea is right.
No one's going to vote for him. But he won't get 15% of the vote. He'll get no delegates.
The thing about Warren, where I think you're correct, Warren has an economic message, but it is broader than Bernie's, and it's more detailed.
Yeah, no, there's a competency issue that I think threshold that she can cross quicker. Anyway, Andrea, Bill, and Adrian, thank you all. Happy Friday.
All right, so this is why I have to do a separate Warren video, because I need to address all of this, and I don't have time to rant.
Serious.
But let me just state a few facts here, because these people are full of shit. Warren's base is 71% white. Bernie's base is 48% white. Elizabeth Warren has 49% of female support, while Bernie Sanders has 53% of female support. Bernie 2020 has over 1 million volunteers and 850,000 and counting more donors than all the candidates combined, including Donald Trump. And we have this here with the profiles of the supporters of the leading Democratic candidates, where you can see all of this data, and you can see the ages, and you can see how many people of color and how many women and how many religious and white, and just you can see it, and it's there. It's a fact. So to say that Warren has more broad support that's diverse is an absolute lie. Yet there are all these pundits getting paid millions of dollars to sit there and lie to you, are telling you something as if they're dismissing Sanders as if he's completely unelectable, when the reality is he's the only electable one out of those people that were mentioned. Literally the only one that can be Donald Trump. And anyone that says that no, any of them can be Trump is an idiot. And is an idiot and is going to hand Donald Trump the election.
Well, it's Bill Kristol, the warmongering jerk-off. And on MSNBC, the new liberal station, has Kristol. And then Andrea, what's her name? Andrea, who's Alan Greenspan's wife, right? Andrea Mitchell. And she's going to sit there and say that Elizabeth Warren has a broader explanation of economics and policy than Bernie Sanders. GTFOH.
And let's be clear here. Bernie Sanders represents class warfare. That's why they dismiss him. They're saying that he doesn't appeal. He actually appeals to the majority of people, but they're scared because he represents them being taken down. And I have a freaking tweet I put up with Bernie Sanders' real estate tax bill, which gives 77% on the value of an estate of over $1 billion, meaning he's going to eat the rich. The Walton family would pay up to $147 billion in estate taxes. Mars family, $98 billion. The Koch family, $96 billion. 99.8% of Americans who inherited under $3.5 million would pay nothing. And that is why they're scared, because they know that Bernie Sanders represents the working and the middle class rising up and saying, no more. We're done with this.
I have a question, though. What do you think? Should we pan sear them and bake them in the oven with a little buffalo glaze on the Rothschilds? I mean, or maybe we should slow smoke them. Or we can blanch them. We can take the Rothschilds, the
I'll
Cokes,
let you take care of that.
We can put them in the boiling water, then put them in an ice bath, and then saute them with a little broccolini, olive oil, and with salt and pepper. I mean, I want to eat the rich so bad because what the elites have been doing in this country, and even in the Epstein thing we're going to get to tomorrow, it's disgusting what they're doing, and it's time to take them down. And I really love what you put up, fam, because it's all broad. Because people understand the message. If we're going to be living in this monetary system, we're all dark when the lights go out. We all share the same problem. Okay? And that was said by Reverend Barber, and that's who Bernie Sanders appeals to. The people who want real solutions, bread and butter solutions. They don't harp on your feelings, they harp on policy. And Bernie Sanders has been there for 40 years straight, strong on his policy for all poor people and workers.
So how dare you say that his economic plan, he's literally leading with an economic plan, telling you exactly how he's going to pay for every single thing. And the only people that should be worried about his economic plan are the rich, the very, very rich. Not even if you are okay, the very, very rich. And look who's worried about Bernie, who's dismissing him. These conglomerate companies who are owned by billionaires. Obviously, it is all connected, and I think people need to stop trying to believe that that's not the case. This is the reality here.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, to tell you all of this.
That's why we're in our basement doing better news than the mainstream media. I mean, seriously, why is Bill Kristol, who's gotten everything wrong, Max Boot, all these people they're still putting on? They got everything wrong, but it's okay. We look at their numbers on YouTube. They keep on going down.
And those
the
polls
views keep on dropping.
Those polls are ridiculous. 31% Biden?
Yeah.
Are you serious? I have yet to meet one Biden supporter. A single one in the Democratic California. Like, this is
I
just
met one.
bullshit.
He said, that's beyond my purview. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. Johnny Tsunami, you got anything else to end the show? We go get some dinner. We're going to go some tomorrow. We're going to do a lot of Epstein stuff. We're also going to be breaking down this week Elizabeth Warren by fee, and we're also going to be talking about the data dump on Google and the gentleman out there who's floating, and he's been talking to a lot of people about what is going on in Google and how they're suppressing information and what they did exactly to Tulsi Gabbard, and she has a $50 million lawsuit against them.
Down to the algorithms, right?
Down to the algorithms. Because here's the thing. They say, oh, it's the algorithm that got you. You didn't get your monetization on YouTube because of our algorithm. Guess what? That algorithm was written by a human being. So don't forget that. So thank you very much to everybody watching on the Twitch.
Thank you, guys.
On the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the YouTube. Thank you for subscribing to our Patreon. Hit the bell, like, share, subscribe for Pasta Jardula.
And Fiorella Isabel.
Johnny Tsunami.
Combo out.
Bye
Bye
everybody.
guys.
See you tomorrow. We love you. 23,000. It's on you.